Hello techies, welcome to another exciting topic from Snowflake. Today we will take a look at bulk loading data from a local file system into Snowflake using internal stage. So we'll cover few important concepts here such as different types of stages, what are the steps involved in bulk loading, what is the file format object, and at the end I'll give one demo on one important interview question as well and few tips for bulk data loading that are also quite common in certification exams. So don't miss the end and watch the tutorial very carefully till the end. Alright, so let's begin. So first let's take a look at process overview. Loading data from local file system is done in two different steps. Step 1 involves a put command. What it does is it reads the file from the local file system and places that file into the internal stage. Step 2 involves a copy into command, which is again very important command in Snowflake. This copy into command then takes the data from internal stage into the database or into the tables. So regardless of the stage that we use, right, there are different types of stage that we will see. This step requires running a virtual warehouse, and that is also it should be in use, it should be on. The warehouse provides the compute resource to perform the actual insertion of rows into the tables. So there are different types of internal stages that we will see. So this is overall view of how the data gets loaded when we load the data from the local file system into the internal stage. So first you can see this is the local file system. There are files present in our local system. Using put command we put that into an internal stage. Okay, so there are different types of stages which is shown here. One is the internal named stage, another one is the table stage. So it is table stage is associated with the table, and then third one is the user stage which is associated with each user. So in any of these stages we can put the file. Each one has its own limitations, we'll discuss that, but we can put the files into any of these internal stages, and from this internal stages we just issue a copy into command which copies the data from the files to the final table. And for this, as I said, right, for the copy commands to run we need a virtual warehouse that should be up and running. So this is the overall process overview. This is described in the official Snowflake documentation. You can go ahead and read it in detail. The next thing is the types of internal stages. As I said, right, we have three internal stages. One is user stage. So it is automatically created for each user. As soon as a user is created, its internal stage is also created along with the user. It can store the files which is uploaded by a specific user. So if you want that your file should be available to another user as well, that will not be possible in this case. It is only accessible to the specific user. And the copy command, if we use this, will be same, but we just have different way of showing this in the copy command, and that is represented by a tilde here. So the user stage is represented by a small tilde. At the rate will be common in all. So this only thing is different in all these different types of stages. Next one is the table stage. It is something similar to user stage only, but instead of user it is associated with the specific table. So this different users still can use, but it can only be used for a single table. So if you are using a table stage, you can't use this table stage to load data into some other table. Okay, so associated table only it can be used, and it is represented by a percent sign. If you see, this is only difference, but the rest of the command will still be the same. Third one is the internal named stage. Internal named stage is not associated with any specific user, or it is not associated even with some specific table. So it is a named stage. Unlike any other objects in Snowflake, anyone who has the privileges can access the files or can access this stage. So it provides more control on the file organization and access, and can be shared between different users and roles. The difference is we don't use anything here, any symbol here. It's just at the rate and then the stage name. So this is called as internal named stage. With this, we are good to start the practical. We'll see these things live in action into my snow site. So before we can start running the copy commands and all, we just need to prepare few things. The first thing is put command does not allow to run that in snow site. we have to run put command in from SnowSQL or any command line interface which supports Snowflake. Even we can run from some third party application, some program, but from Snow site, we cannot issue the put command. So for that, we need to install SnowSQL command line interface. So we'll just try to go to this page. From here, we can just go to SnowSQL download page. Okay, this is the download page here. You just have to install this. Just download this MSI installer and run it. It is a simple installation step. It doesn't ask for any environment path variable setup or anything. We just have to download this and install. So once you are able to install it, what you can do is you can run it in PowerShell. You can check whether you have installed this correctly or not. So we'll just issue commands NoSQL, SnowSQL and -v. We'll check the version. So if it is installed successfully, it will be able to access it and give us the version number which is installed here. Now this is done, right? So we are good with this. Another thing is we need to set up the context now. So we will just create the demo database. For this demo purpose, I am just creating a separate database, and I'm also creating a separate schema for this. Now, these two things are done. We need to now connect to the SnowSQL in the command line, because we need to issue put command. So we should be connected to Snowflake, right? Right now we are not connected to our Snowflake account. So we'll just see how we can connect. So if you come to the connecting tab, here you will see there is this command Snowflake SQL with connection parameters. So the important parameters here are the first four parameters. You just mention these things while creating this SnowSQL connection command. -a and then account name. So you can go here and get your account name from this. Just copy this link here and you will get the account identifier, something that similar to what I have got here. So this is my account identifier. It contains some keywords and then the region. Okay, the cloud provider region, and along with that we need other important parameters also to pass here, like username with -u. -d is the DB name to set the context to which database we want to create the objects and to which schema. So once we give all these parameters, I have just given these things here, prepared the command, and I'll just execute it here. So it will ask for a password. This is the password for our Snowflake account. So I'll just give in the password here, and then you will see that I will be able to connect. So I am connected to now my warehouse and to my DB and schema. So with this I am able to connect successfully to the Snowflake. Okay, now the next thing is to run the put command. We need internal stage, because that put command will, be copying the files from local system to the internal stage, right? And at the moment we don't have any internal stage in our database. I just created a DB and then schema. There are no objects in this. So let's just create a stage here. Before starting that, I just have one small request. If you are liking the contents and at least I am able to make you understand few things, please subscribe to the channel so that it motivates me to bring up such more informative videos in future as well, and you don't miss any of these contents. So please subscribe. Okay, so back to the topic. You see, I'm just creating a stage named as my internal stage. I'm just giving an encryption. It's always better to use encryption here, because the files which is lying in your stage should be encrypted. It should be secured. And the file format, we need to tell Snowflake that what is the file format, because it needs to know the file format to parse the file correctly. So I'm just mentioning the keyword file format here, and type is CSV, and I'm just giving one parameter here, that skip header, because the file that I'll be using is this one. So here the first row is my header, where I'm saying first name, last name and age. I have two records in this. So I need to tell Snowflake that my file has a header in it. So while loading, you should skip that and treat it as a header. So first row will always be treated as a header. Now you see, this is I'm using a file format command or parameter directly in my stage creation command, right? There is one another way where we can create a file format totally as a separate object. Okay, so here if you see, if I create with this parameter, this internal stage, it will get created. It will take the file format what I am defining here. But let's say if we have already defined an object, file format object, which is a CSV file format. Okay, and in here I am just giving all the parameters that I need. I can create a separate file format object, and instead of giving the file format keyword here, I can give file format equals to the file format object name. It will take all the parameters now which was defined here. So both ways we can do. This way, doing it second way is gives us more flexibility to use some more parameters, and we can achieve a few of the things using these parameters. There are multiple other parameters as well which are used in some or the other scenarios. So you can choose any one. I'll just to demo, I'll just use the file format directly in my stage creation command, and I've created the stage. So now once the stage is created, I can just do the list stage to get the contents of the stage. So at present I just created the stage. I don't have any contents in it, right? So you can see the column, its name. We'll see when once we load the file here, we'll see that file name comes here, the size, and then unique identifier, that is MD5, and last modifier. These things will come as soon as we run the put command. So now the stage is ready. We have created an internal stage with a file format of CSV. It will identify our file that it is a CSV file. It's a comma delimiter, and it will try to load that file into this stage. So let's go back to our CLI. We are already connected to our Snowflake account. We'll just issue the put command. So now to issue the put command, I have kept my sample file here in the download folder. You can see this is my sample file that I'll be loading. We just can get the path of this file. So this is the path of the file. Just copy this path, and we'll prepare the path that we need to load. So I'll just paste it here. So you see, this is my file name, and we need to give double slash here to just to escape the windows slashes here. And then I'm also giving the file name as sample.csv. Now to which location I want to load is, this is the internal stage that we just now created. So since it is a named internal stage, I don't have to give here a tilde. We saw it is for user stage, and percentage was for table stage, but this is our named internal stage, so we don't have to give anything here. So we'll just run this put command. Now we'll go to our command prompt, and we'll give this put command here. Now as soon as we hit enter, it shows us the statistics and says that it's successfully uploaded. We don't have any errors in this file. Now it shows here the same thing we can check in our Snow site. We can just list down this contents of the stage again. It will say that now it has a file loaded in the stage. Now the name is my internal stage slash sample csv.gz. It has already compressed it, and the size, and then MD5, all these things we can see here. So it was loaded, it is present in the stage now. Now we are okay to run a copy command, but as you know, copy command runs and copies the data from internal stage to a target table. So we need to create a target table first. So the same column names I'm using, first name, last name, and age, because my file is in this structure. So same structure I'm creating for the target table. I'm just hitting run button so that the table gets created. Now the table is created. We are good to now run the copy into command. So copy into my table and from my internal stage. We already know that we have loaded one file in this internal stage, so we can run this copy command now. As soon as we run this copy command, it will show us the statistics here. So it got loaded successfully. And how many rows were passed? Two rows were parsed, and loaded how many? Two. So there were no rows which failed. Okay, it completely loaded the complete file, and there were no errors seen in this. So we were able to load successfully the data from the internal stage to the target table. Let's just query the target table and see how the record looks there. Now if we run this select command, we see that these records are loaded here successfully. and we know that it had two records in it, so both of them is present here as well. So that means we were able to load successfully, the copy command ran successfully, and we were able to load the data. Once the copy command runs successfully, you can also check the history of the copy commands. You just need to go to monitoring tab, and in monitoring tab you will see there is copy history, and you will see all the steps, all the copy commands that you ran recently. You can change those filters from here. If you want to see the last 12 months, 6 months, or whatever, you can those add those filters, status, and all those things, and you can see all the copy commands, whether it loaded successfully or it had some errors. So it's always good to come back here and see what all copy commands you have run, and if you want to see the status of each of them, you can just visit here and you can see in this page. Now, one very important question that also I promised, right? I'll be sharing one question which comes in interview as well as in certification. That is something they ask is what happens if we load another file into the stage. Okay, so one file we already know that it is present here. Okay, one file is already present here. We will not remove this file. What we will do, we will again run a put command, and it this time load sample1 file. Okay, this is another file. It again has some two records in it, but let's just load this into internal stage. So it got loaded successfully. Now if we just check the internal stage, we will have two files in it. Now you can see two files are there. Okay, now what happens if we run this copy command again? Will it re-upload the first file along with the new file, or will it only upload the new file? So let's just run the copy command and see what happens. So for now we had two records in the table. We are again we ran the copy command. We did not mention which file to load here. It just loaded the two records, and you can see the file name which it considered. It did not consider the previously loaded file. Okay, it just loaded the new file, and we can confirm, we can just check the table again. We see that we have two new records here. Okay, it did not repeat the previous two records, so it takes care of the already loaded file internally, so it maintains history of or the metadata of the already loaded files. It does not load them back again. So that is one thing. Now another thing, what if I truncate my table? Okay, I just say truncate table, and my table is the name. Okay, I just truncate, I just delete all the records from here. Now again if I run the copy command, what will happen? Again we'll check in the internal stage. We have two files here, both has two records in it. Let's just run the copy command once again. We know that both these files were already loaded in the table, and we deleted the records from the table, and I'm again running the copy command. In this case what will happen? It will say that it loaded successfully, two parsed and two loaded. Let's check the records here. We see that four rows were loaded. So that means if we drop the table, or if we truncate the table, if we recreate the table, the internal metadata is lost. Okay, and copy command does not get the number of rows which it already loaded. So what happens is it again tries to load them back into the table. So we should always remember this. Okay, this is very important when it comes to certification, as well as in any of the Snowflake interviews also. Now let's see some of the tips and tricks for bulk loading using the copy command. Point number one, the number of data files that are processed in parallel is determined by the amount of compute resources in a warehouse. So the larger the warehouse, the more the parallel files. Point number two, loading very large files is not recommended. Files should typically range between 100 and 250 MBs. Point number 3. Split the larger files into greater number of smaller files to distribute the load among the compute resources in an active warehouse. Point number 4. If files are too small, aggregate them to minimize the processing overhead for each files. And last, keep a dedicated small warehouse for executing the copy commands. So with this, we are done with this topic. I hope you liked it and will be useful to you. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.